सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरोन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणललिता साग्रजातं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवम् श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे साधु साधु Hare Krishna. So we are reading from Brihad Bhagavatamritam, part 2, chapter 4, text number 46 onwards. And Gopakumara is in Vaikuntha. So opulences of Vaikuntha are being described here as they are observed by Gopakumara, and Gopakumara himself is revealing these things to his student. Prapanchantaragata bhoga para vishayino yatha bahirdrishtya tatekshante tehi muktarchitangrayah. Superficially, those residents of Vaikuntha may appear like sense enjoyers of the material realm, but in fact their feet are worshipped by liberated souls. So in this material world also we see that devotees, their activities, and non-devotees, their materialistic people's activities appear similar. Devotees are also eating and non-devotees are also eating. Devotees also take rest, non-devotees also sleep. So devotees also may engage, some of them, grasp the devotees into sex life. So devotees also may secure something for the future, grastas, defense, Bhaya, defense, protection. So non-devotees also do. But Srila Prabhupada in the introduction to Bhagavad Gita, he defined bhakti as activities in pure consciousnesses. So consciousness is what differs. So external activities may be similar, but consciousness is different. Just like Arjuna, in the beginning, he was ready to fight, but then he was trying to avoid fighting. Again, at the end, he got convinced after hearing Bhagavad Gita and he fought. So what was the difference? Difference was in consciousness. So initially he may be doing it for his own personal sense gratification. Then in between, out of sense gratification, he wanted to avoid fighting. Whether fighting or not fighting, in both cases, Arjuna was acting on the platform of sense gratification. So his material attachments to his family, his friends, his relatives, etc., etc. So on the platform of material attachment. But in the end, the same thing he is doing for the sake of Krishna. Now, this is what is different. Now, in the first chapter, we see Nacha Shreyonu Pashyami Hatva Svajana Mahave Nakankshe Vijayam Krishna Nacha Rajyam Sukhanicha. So, I don't see any ultimate benefit in this, ultimate good in this war, in this battle. So, but he didn't know what to speak of Shreya. He didn't know prey also, immediate happiness also. In ignorance, we don't understand even immediate good also, what to speak of ultimate good. So, in general, in Vedic culture, ultimate good means liberation, ultimate goal of life out of the four Purusharthas. Now, what is even higher than that ultimate good is what is considered in the Vedic culture, that liberation is service to Krishna. And what was the service of Arjuna? Arjuna's service was to fight in this battle of Kurukshetra, because Kurukshetra was a mission of Krishna to establish a pious king, Yudhishthira, as a king of the world. So, because Krishna comes to establish dharma, if there is no dharmic king, where is the question of dharma actually? So all rogues and thieves would be there in human society, like in present society. Leaders are also rogues and thieves, and the citizens are also rogues and thieves. So it was mission of Krishna, and Arjuna's duty was to serve that. So in the end, he did that. So sometime ultimate instruction of Bhagavad Gita is Sarva Dharmam Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. When Sarva Dharmam Parityajya, Sarva Dharman Parityajya means, that is in plural word. When Krishna says, devotees may misunderstand that you give up Varnashram Dharma. Arjuna did not give up his Varnashram Dharma. He did not give up his fighting. Surrender doesn't mean that you give up Varnashram Dharma. So he continued. After the end of Bhagavad Gita, what he does? If you read Mahabharata, you will see there. After he heard Bhagavad Gita, and then he was ready to fight. And in the beginning of second chapter, we see that. What is that? So he says, Govinda, now I will not fight, he says. So in this way, but in the end he says he is ready. So the difference was, now after hearing Bhagavad Gita, he was on spiritual platform, in spiritual consciousness. That is bhakti. So activities may not change, but consciousness will change. Of course, if we are engaged in vikarma, we should not, if our occupations are vikarma occupations, we should give them up. We should change them to traditional occupations. Anyway, superficially those residents of Vaikuntha may appear like sense enjoyers of the material realm, but in fact their feet are worshipped by liberated souls. Because the devotees of Vaikuntha enjoy their senses in wonderful ways, living a life full of song and dance, one might judge them to be no better than the selfish materialists of this material, of the world of Maya. Another thing is material enjoyment and materialistic enjoyment. There is a difference. So, material enjoyment means, like, we are also staying in a house. It's material, right? So, of course, we are supposed to be temple ashramas, are supposed to be completely spiritual. But anyway, somebody is devotee is living in a house. It is material house. Of course, this we have to understand. This can become a controversial statement, but how devotee's house can be material, it is spiritual, it is all devoted to Krishna. That's all right. But so it, like there is a garden, you may be chanting there, walking and chanting garden. It's a material, world. We are in material world. Just to, why to stretch it or extrapolate it. We are, but materialistic enjoyment means fully dedicated to sense gratification, and without following any dharma, any regulation, etc., etc. So that we should know the difference. The truth is, however, that the feet of the Vaikuntha Vasis are worshipped by elevated souls who have transcended the limits of matter, given up the attractions of sense pleasure, and dedicated themselves fully to the service of the Supreme Lord. Now, just to give one example in this connection, we see that Gopi's relationship with Krishna, the Parakiya Rasa, it can be completely misunderstood, and it is misunderstood also. So many people think that Krishna was a debauchee, some envious snakes anyway. So, and how can one have an extramarital relationship? Some of the gopis were married. Of course, they were very young girls. So they had, this is Parakiya Rasa is extramarital relationship, having relationship with Krishna as a paramour. So this may seem very bad from materialistic point of view, but it is nothing to do with these relationships of the material world. So in this way, we may think Krishna's activities. If Gopi's love for Krishna is materialistic and mundane, why is that the great souls, liberated souls, and that too fully renounced, who were Javel among sannyasis, great Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya. So Madhvacharya took sannyas at the age of 10. So they never had any sex. They were all Brahadvrata brahmacharis. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and in recent times Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So all these great sannyasis, they all worshipped gopis, and they consider gopis as highest devotees. So similarly, Vaikuntha Vasis are also worshipped by liberated souls. So this is very strong argument which no one can, especially in connection with Krishna's pastimes and Krishna's relationship with a devotee's relationship with Krishna, especially those who are eternal devotees who are taking part in Krishna's. So that verse is there, Atma Ramascha Munayo Nirgrantyapya Urukrame Kurvantya Hetu Kim Bhaktim Mittam Bhuta Guno Harihi. So, famous verse from Bhagavatam. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave 64 meanings, all glorifying devotional service to Krishna. So 2 times he explained that. One was to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and another was to Sanatana Goswami. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains. Now that verse says that how Lord's qualities and pastimes and the Lord himself are transcendental. So Lord qualities are not material. So what is the evidence of that? Those who are Atma Ramas, who don't take any pleasure, Atma Ramas means those who don't take pleasure only in spiritual activities. So they don't take pleasure in the material world. They are fully liberated. They are Paramahamsas. They also worship Krishna. So they also, like it is particularly said about Shukadeva Goswami. He was on a Brahma Bhuta stage, completely liberated. Nothing to do with the material world and material and its material activities, material sense gratification. So if Krishna's qualities and activities are mundane, then why he took trouble to read some mundane literature like Srimad Bhagavatam? So, because such great personalities, they are also hearing, chanting, reading about the qualities of Krishna pastimes of Krishna, that shows that Krishna's qualities and pastimes are not material, they are transcendental. So that is the logic, how Krishna's qualities. So who can argue on this point? It's a very powerful and strong logic actually, about the transcendental nature of Krishna's activities of the devotees in relationship with Krishna, those who are in relationship with Krishna. Okay. There is no valid reason to suspect that the devotees of Vaikuntha are ever addicted to the paltry enjoyment provided by material senses. In Srimad Bhagavatam 3.15.17 and 20, Lord Brahma also points this out in his description of Vaikuntha. Vaimanika salalanaschcharitani shashvat ghayanti atra shamala kshapanani bhartuhu antarjalenu vikasan madhumadavinam gandena khandita diyo anilam kshipantaha. Now, you see this verse is from Bhagavatam. In the commentaries, lot of verses from Bhagavatam are quoted because basically Brihad Bhagavatam is just summarizing Srimad Bhagavatam. In the Vaikuntha planets, the inhabitants fly in their aeroplanes, accompanied by their wives, and eternally sing of the character and activities of the Lord, which are always devoid of all inauspicious qualities. While singing the glories of the Lord, they deride even the presence in the water of blossoming Madhavi flowers, which are fragrant and laden with honey. So basically, here comparison with Madhu Madhavina. So Madhu Madhavina. Comparison, devotees are compared there with these Madhavi flowers. That means they are more beautiful, they look more beautiful, gorgeous than Madhavi flowers by engaging in the glorification of the Lord, auspicious activities and glorification of the Lord. So in this way we see here in the third canto of Bhagavatam that some detailed expression descriptions about Vaikuntha. Okay. In Vaikuntha planets, the inhabitants fly in their aeroplanes accompanied by their wives and eternally sing the character and activities of the Lord, which are always devoid of all inauspicious. Okay, why I read this translation again? Because I wanted to say something and it went out of my mind. Coming back to the point. Now, if you see Mayavad and Buddhism is more or less, it just derives from Vedic culture. Their practices and their behavior, everything is derived culture. Their culture is derived from Vedic culture. So, and some traditions in Vedic culture, especially this Mayavadi tradition, it emphasizes on self-abnegation. So, and renounce everything in the world. So, but our acharyas, they gave a different idea of Vairagya. So, in Bhakti, Yukta Vairagya is mentioned. So, Yukta Vairagya, so Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, he, while explaining the relationship between Bhakti and Bhakti with other spiritual practices, for example, Jnana, Tapasya, so he also described what is the relationship between Bhakti and Vairagya. So bhakti and vairagya. So he defines just rejecting the objects of this world, thinking them to be material, without having knowledge of their connection with Krishna. That is called as Phalgu Vairagya. Phalgu Vairagya means fake renunciation. प्रापंचिकतया बुद्धिया हरि संबंधी वस्तुना मुमुक्षु भी परित्यागो फलगो वैराग्यम खत्यते, like that. So प्रापंचिकतया बुद्धिया, प्रापंचिक बुद्धि. What is this prapanchika buddhi means? So prapanchika buddhi and definition of maya are both are same. Not understanding the connection of this material world with Krishna and the objects of the material world with Krishna. That is called as prapanchika buddhi. So that definition of maya in the second canto of Bhagavatam, if you see. So that verse is there. What is that? Ratertam na pratiyeta chatmani tham vidyad. You are reading Chatushloki Bhagavatam. Tham vidyad atmano mayam yatha bhasham yatha tamaha. So thinking that something is separate from Krishna is called as maya. So why they are called as Mayavadis? So sometimes these neo-Vedic scholars, without understanding the proper meaning of Maya, why Vaishnavas call these Advaitavadis as Mayavadis, they think that so Mayavad is, how Shankara can be Mayavad? They can't understand that, because Shankaracharya taught renouncing the world. So the famous teaching of Shankara is there. So if you go and ask Shankara and his followers how one can be happy, give up everything material world, give up desire to become happy. That is how you can become happy. That is their sutra. So that comes from that famous statement. So what is that? Vedanta Vakeshu Sada Ramanta Kopinavanta Kalu Bhagyavanta. So who is most fortunate person in this Kali Yuga? One who gives up the material world, renounces. Kopinavanta means he has taken to lion cloth, means he has taken sannyas. And he is absorbed in Vedanta. So this is their definition of happiness, and this is their definition of, this is their spiritual practice and behavior. The emphasis is on renouncing the world. So neo-Vedic scholars, those who study Shankaras, they can't understand that. They think their definition of Mayavad means materialism. So Maya means material world. Material world means Maya. And those who emphasis on this is called as Maya. That is their understanding of what. Actually, a real definition of Mayavad is not understanding the connection of the material world with Krishna and the objects of material world with Krishna, are separating everything from Krishna. Of course, the actual definition of Mayavad is given by our acharyas, that these Advaitavadis, they say that Lord's form is made up of Maya, and Bhakti is Maya, and devotees are Maya, like that. So that is the main definition. Like in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada, he says that actually. 7th chapter, 24th verse is, what is that? Avyaktam vyaktimapanna manyate mama buddhayaha. So previously I was unmanifest, now I am manifest. That means previously I had no form, now I have assumed form. So abuddhayaha. So these less intelligent people, they think like that. So Advaitavadis and Mayavadis are less intelligent people. So in the purport, Prabhupada, he gives the definition of Maya. So in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita 7th chapter, when there is conversation between 7th chapter of Adi Leela of Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is description about conversation between Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Prakashananda Saraswati. There also Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he defined what is Mayavad. Prabhupada quotes that in his purports. So that is definition of. But anyway, this is also Mayavad, that trying to see things separate from Krishna, or separating things of this world from Krishna, disconnecting from them. So that is called as, although there is a Bhinna Prakriti Rashtadha, Krishna also uses the word Bhinna. So that doesn't mean that it is completely disconnected with Krishna. So ultimately everything is connected with Krishna. This is a little a subtle thing. It needs some philosophical intelligence to understand. Why? Because Krishna also says that I have nothing to do with this world, but everything is within me, like that Krishna. So that is Achintya Bheda Bheda. Everything should be understood according to Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva. So anyway, प्रापंचिकतया बुद्धिया हरि संबंधी वस्तुना मुमुक्षुभि परित्यागो पल्गु वैराग्य कथ्यते. So that mumukshubhis, those who want to attain liberation, so they renounce it, parityago, give it up. That is called as palgu vairagya. Because what is yours to renounce? Why it is palgu vairagya? Now there is nothing belongs to you. When you understand that nothing belongs to you, isha vasham idam sarvam. So if you understand that nothing belongs to you, where is the question of renouncing something actually? So therefore it is palgu vairagya. It is. So Prabhupada used to tell that example that one person, he saw some money lying down on the street, and he said, it doesn't belong to me, and he just leaves it. Another person, he thinks of taking it away, right? Because no one is seeing at me, let me take advantage of. So third person, he tries to find to whom it belongs, and he goes and gives it to him. So who is actually good among the three? So giving it back to the person whom it belongs. So according to Isha Vasham Idam Sarvam, if everything belongs to God, giving back to Him is the intelligence, right? That is a good thing to do. So in this way, next in the verse, अनासक्तस्य विषयान् यथारम उपयुञ्जत निर्बन्धे कृष्ण संबंधे युक्त वैराग्यम उच्यते. अनासक्तस्य विषयान् यथारम उपयुञ्जत. So first we should become detached. We should not have enjoying tendency, anasaktasya, with the objects of senses. Yatharam, that according to our qualification, we have to engage. Not that everyone can engage everything in Krishna service. So we need sufficient anasakti to do that actually. Otherwise what will happen? In the name of Yukta Vairagya, we start enjoying it. So this is another verse which is most misunderstood within ISKCON actually. Everyone becomes a Yukta Vairagi without anasakti actually. So yatharam nirbandhe krishna sambandhe yukta vairagya muchyate. So anyway, ultimate point is that we have to engage in the service of the Lord. So in Vaikuntha, this principle is seen. They live opulent life. They have aeroplanes, they have beautiful wives, and they have all ornaments, everything. But their whole existence is fully dedicated to Krishna. So in this way, just like king may live a very luxurious life, so very opulent life with lots of ornaments, big palaces, like last time we discussed actually. So they live very opulently because people should develop faith in them that the king can maintain us actually. If he himself looks like a poverty-stricken man, how can people will trust him? So they can't trust him. And when time comes, what happens? A genuine Kshatriya, what he does? He just leaves everything and goes to forest, enters into forest, Vanaprastha ashrama he takes to. We have seen in all the Puranic histories, that most of the Kshatriyas they left and went to forest with their wives, queens. Queens also followed them. So in this way we see that so this Mayavad and Buddhism, they have created this idea. So Prabhupada, he calls them as gross materialists, he calls them as. So why gross materialists? Because in the name of renunciation, overemphasizing renunciation will end up in gross materialism. People will, they will not be attracted to spiritual world, spiritual life, and they will indulge more and more into sense gratification. That is why materialism, because of too much spread of Advaitavad and Buddhism, so materialism has increased in the world actually. So, like till today, until of course now Prabhupada has gone to West and Prabhupada has preached in the West and his books are being distributed. And they are distributed very widely. So till today, Vedanta in the Western world means it was Advaita Vedanta. So, and no one became spiritual by reading that Advaita Vedanta. Because so gross materialism will increase more and more by Buddhism and Advaita because of overemphasis on self-abnegation and renunciation. But of course that doesn't mean Yukta Vairagya doesn't mean that, because Yukta Vairagya verse also begins Anasakti actually, detachment. But the spiritual pleasure which we get by doing Yukta Vairagya, so it is uncomparable, none of any other spiritual practices. So in fact it is said comparing them is offense actually. So, and in the first chapter, first verse, second or third verse of, what is that verse? Rasamalayam, that verse is there. Nigama kalpataror galitam phalam sukamukha adamrata dravasamyutam pipata bhagavatam rasamalayam muhuraho. So in that verse, Prabhupada, he says that impersonalism has given impetus for sex life, something like that he says. I am just not able to recollect fully, but anyway, something like in those lines we can see there. So this impersonalism will bring like that. So, and overall, what is this Advaitavad, Mayavad is actually. So their process is neti. From another angle, if you want to see, from neti angle, they always negate. So for them, spirit is negation of matter, but actually spirit is not negation of matter, but matter is the perverted reflection of spirit it is. So therefore they have to negate everything, give up everything, everything material. So actual opulence is in Vaikuntha, and the material opulence and variegatedness is a reflection of that actual opulence and variegatedness of Vaikuntha actually. So therefore, whatever we see here being described, that we should not think in terms of material. Oh, why these people are supposed to be spiritual and in the spiritual world, and they should be like starving like yogis, standing upside down. So we think like that because our understanding of spirit is what? Negation of matter. So, but spirit is not negation of matter, but matter is perverted reflection of spirit. That is what is said in Bhagavad Gita. Urdhva moolam adam shakam ashvatam pravravayam chandamsi. Yasya parnani yastam veda save. This material world is a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. He says, he gives in a little poetical way, alankaric way, saying that this material world is a inverted banyan tree whose roots are upwards, branches are downwards, he says. So such tree is what? It's a just reflection, that is what. In other words, even while enjoying wonderfully, the devotees in Vaikuntha are always absorbed in the ecstasy of worshipping the personality of Godhead. The Madhavi flower blooms during the spring, when the attraction of sense pleasures reaches a peak. So in Bhagavad Gita also Krishna says that among the Rutus I am, what is that verse is there? Kusumakara, spring season, he says, the 10th chapter. Yet even though such attractions may stimulate the senses of the devotees, this does not at all distract them from their devotional service. So another verse, that is 20th verse. Tat shankulam haripadanti matra drashtair vaidhurya marakata hemamayair vimanai yesham rahat khatitata smita shobhi mukhya Kshnathamanam naraja adudur utsamaya dhyuhai. Vaikuntha is full of devotees who seem never to do anything but bow down at the feet of Lord Hari, all the while travelling in their aeroplanes made of lapis lazuli. How they are translated. Vaidurya money. Emerald and gold, they are crowded by their consorts who have large hips and beautiful smiling faces, whose Vaikuntha residents cannot be stimulated to passion by such mirth and beautiful charms. So this is description about Vaikuntha. So where are all these descriptions and where are we actually in the 20th century? They have this Eurocentric idea that Wright brothers are the one who found the aeroplanes, and we have these aeroplanes made with a tin. And here the description of aeroplanes are made up of Vaidurya, Marakata, Hema, etc. So lapis lazuli, emerald and gold. And these Vaikuntha, these aeroplanes, our aeroplanes, they fly with what is that? Some petrochemicals. And so we don't see such things here in description. I made one point. So now Eurocentrism, they don't believe. They think that okay, Wright brothers are the one who invented aeroplanes like that, they say. So BBC has made some videos, the days that shook the world, like that. So one day that was shook the world was inventing of aeroplanes by Wright brothers. But the thing is, last time we discussed how Eurocentrism came. Basically, this envious churchianity, followers of churchianity, they destroyed all the arts and sciences and now again they are being reinvented. Those who are rebelled against, basically scientists means they rebelled against the church. Science emerged as a rebel against church. Like we see that Galileo story is there, that they wanted to, before that Copernicus, they killed him, and then Galileo somehow with his bold moves he went against the church doctrines, and that was the beginning of the era, scientific era. So they are being invented by people who have become free from the clutches of church, but that ended up in another confused or bogus ideology that basically it's all evolution now. Ultimately that evolution idea is also a church doctrine it was. So it is presented as science by Mr. Darwin, because in the 5th century only the early father of, or the one of the founding fathers of Churchianity, Saint Augustine. So he made the idea that every civilization is a progress from the previous one. It's an evolution idea actually. It's a religious doctrine. It's a church doctrine. It is evolution. So it is not developed by fertile brain of Mr. Darwin actually, historically, if you want to see that. So they believe the idea, now we have come to 20th century and we are inventing all these things. It's a result of great progress of science. In this way we are progressing, evolving like that. So this whole Eurocentrism, it has foundation in church doctrines. But if you study Vedic literature, I gave the argument that these were, at least this was Sanatana Goswami wrote this Brihad Bhagavatam 500 years back, long before, so before Wright brothers invented aeroplanes. Just someone to conceive some idea of aeroplane, that itself shows his developed intelligence actually. Because for Europeans, before the Wright brothers invented aeroplane, they could not imagine anything something like aeroplane actually. So even this imagination, dreams, they are also a symptom of a developed intelligence actually. So we can, whether they have something practical to show or not to show. So anyway, that is our point to our dear followers of Darwinism who believe that brain evolved, and so we are making progress, we are evolving from one species to another species. So they want to same religious doctrines, they want to present them as science in a fake way. So basically, so Western ideology is a they present overtly as scientific, but covertly they are means they subscribe to religious doctrines. Okay, having said that, we will continue. Karmis, jnanis and yogis cannot hope to obtain anything for sense gratification like what the devotees of Vaikuntha enjoy. All this enjoyment, however, never degrades the Vaikuntha devotees from the mode of pure goodness, because they are perfectly fixed in the loving service of Lord Narayana. So, any questions, comments? No questions, comments? Okay. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nayam atma pravachanena labhyo name dayana bahuna shrutena. Yam yevaisha vranute tena labhyasthashaisha atma vivranute tanum swam. Kathopanishad 1.2.23. Hare Krishna.